Welcome to Eye Level to High Level, where real talk meets real results. I'm Jimmy Rios, and each week we break down the mindset, money moves, and strategies you need to elevate your life and business. Let's level up. Welcome back to the Eye Level to High Level podcast, the place where bold ideas meet unstoppable action. Today's episode is extra special because I'm bringing on not just a guest, but my partner in building this movement, the powerhouse himself, Brian Fontenot. He's the genius behind the Eye Level to High Level program, the visionary leader of Zenith Capital Investments, helping entrepreneurs unlock next level funding and scale their businesses like never before. If you're ready for raw insights, unstoppable energy, and the kind of strategies that can flip your business trajectory overnight, then buckle up, because this episode is about to take you higher than you've ever been. Let's go. What's up, Brian?
Hey, good to see you, Jimmy. I like the setup, man. It's really nice. I need to give you one of those in my office.
We'll have to put the requisition in and get it there in your background. I can see you, but man, thanks for being here. I know you're super busy. I was tripping out because I was like, I couldn't get a hold of you. I'm like, where's he at? And sure enough, you're like the ninja that you are. You just came right up and poof, you're right there, so I appreciate you, man. I'm excited, man. I'm excited for this because we've been doing this for a little bit, and we've been trying to get you on, and you've been so busy, and I think it's just apropos that this is it. We've been at this for over a year, and we got to tell your story. So I'm excited to hear what you have to say. We're just gonna have fun with this, and let people out there know what they need to hear. So let's get rolling. Let's start with telling us a little bit about yourself, maybe a little bit about your journey into entrepreneurship and some of the challenges that have shaped your business mindset.
Yeah, no, my journey has been into my career, going from starting into working in corporate America to starting a business and to ultimately to where I land today has been quite the experience and journey. I pulled in from so many different learning lessons, both good and bad, that's helped shape my mindset, my outlook, and also how I approach my running business. My real origins, in my opinion, start back all the way to originally working a really great corporate job. I worked with one of the Fortune 100 companies and Fortune really 10 companies, and had an amazing time. There was so much I learned about sales, marketing, and so many other key attributes that I use now on my daily basis when it comes to business. But ultimately, seeing opportunities and knowing that people need additional resources and support to be able to just deploy large scale projects is one of the things that gets me excited on a morning basis. But I figured that out from starting in my first years in corporate. I decided on a whim, essentially, to leave corporate after establishing a nonprofit in which I found a way to give back to local college students at my alma mater, and then also being able to give my flowers to both my mother and my father. I created my nonprofit, gave away over $250,000 in my first 2 or 3 years within the nonprofit, but was seeking a way to make it into a more sustainable model, so that even whenever I decide that I pass on, that the nonprofit would be able to stay and be able to support the lives of many more individuals. I got into creating while I was in corporate America, some of the concepts that I would eventually embark on after leaving, and created a marketing group that ended up becoming a technology and marketing company that really scaled. I became a Facebook partner, one of the first and few partners, working with only 35 companies across the world to be able to help their Fortune 100 companies and deploy advanced strategies that would help them find tens to hundreds of millions of dollars. I had the pleasure of working with a variety of different companies that I found success in, and helping them to create multi-millions, improve technology, and so much more to be able to help them to deliver more solutions and products and services to clients. But while enjoying that piece and having a background in technology, I was able to eventually create my own fund, and using that fund to be able to help the lives of many other business owners, taking on proprietary strategy that I had learned from a previous hedge fund, taking the learnings and the discipline of over 25 plus years of success and experience in markets, and turning it into our own AI system that can be used to be able to help other people. And so
Wow.
that brought us ultimately to the conversations that we had.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, I remember it like it was yesterday, trying to figure out how can we offer solutions that really help business owners all come across, because you and I had so many shared stories of business owners and experiences that we wish that we could be able to help influence different outcomes. And from
Right.
that was the birth of Eye Level to High Level, which for this last year has been an amazing ride. And we've helped so many hundreds of business owners. Like, it's been incredible to think about it, but it's the fire that gets me out of bed every morning, knowing that we can change the trajectory in the lives of people,
You know,
utilizing all of those experiences.
you you really inspire me, man, because I know you're younger than me, and the things that you've done in your trajectory are just amazing. And the fact that you had that vision at that when we started, really getting this off the ground over a year ago, to really take on, a partner, and because we didn't really know each other that long, and it's like, imagine going on a blind date and all of a sudden you're getting married, right? And that's kind of how it was, because we started off, we just hit it off really well, and then we started really formulating an idea, right? It all came from just the little talk that we had about how we can help someone, right, in situations that many entrepreneurs face, myself included, right? Because I'm very vocal about my struggles and about, everything, my journeys in entrepreneurship. And, to run a business successfully takes a lot of people. It takes a lot of experiences, good, bad, and different. And then to jump into a partnership and start, you already had things going. You already had successes in your realm. You didn't have to take on another challenge. What got into your head to want to undertake this challenge of starting this program that we named Eye Level to High Level? What got in your head to do that?
Yeah, well, I mean, what inspired me to take on this challenge for helping create high level to high level is that there's always different ways that we can find to be able to provide solutions. The greatest thing I think about no wrong way to do it. You'll learn maybe sometimes 99 ways that don't work, but you find that one that's just amazing in how it works. But
Yeah,
also, the cool thing is that anything that you can envision, you can bring out into the market. So all it
right.
takes is that inspiration to want to do something. And the more that we got to talk, like you
Yeah,
said, it wasn't like we had long discussions or knew each other for many multiple months or years,
right.
but the inspiration, the energy that I felt was invigorating to be
Yeah,
able to say, how can we do something together?
yeah,
Because they have the old proverb that if you want to go fast, you can go alone, but if you want to go far, you go together. And I truly
right.
believe, it takes a team
Yes,
that's committed to the same goal, same vision.
right.
Um, I've heard the phrase like one band, one sound, but that's truly what I think of in a team context in a business. And when you meet somebody who's so incredible as yourself and has that same vision and that energy, not only is it infectious, but it's inspiring to say, all right, that's a person that I know I can partner with and that we can do things with. But not
Yeah.
only, anytime you're running a business, I'm sure that any business owner can tell you, it never goes according to plan. So
There is no
you can be
plan, even though we try to, we work very hard on our planning. I agree that you have to have some plan, but I think more than just having the plan is the ability to pivot under the circumstances to change the plan, because the plan is never like linear. It's always going to take its
exactly.
turns into different directions. And for us, I think that was one of the biggest success. I think one of the biggest success stories for us over the course of the years, not what so much the mission that we undertook, it was the ability under duress to stay calm and collected and figure out solutions, which To me, that's huge. That's a big testament to the power of this union, because I know there was times that I'd call you in the middle of the night, in the mornings, like, apprehensions, fear, anxiety, and you were just so calm, like how you are, and it was like, dude, it's going to be okay. We're going to figure it out, blah, blah, blah. And man, let me tell you, that right there just calmed me to the point where, I go back to my basics. I go back to prayer. I go back to thinking, okay, what's the worst thing that could happen? How are we going to get through this together, right? And we did it. We've done it, and we keep doing it because you're never, I think Sylvia said it in our last show, you're never going to not have problems. There's always going to be something that's going to, peek its head into your perfect little world. And it's those adversities and how you react to them that makes us strong. Now, let me ask you, we developed a program called Eye Level to High Level. For those that haven't heard, or maybe this is the first time, give us your take on what the Eye Level to High Level program is.
Yeah, no, so my take on the eye level to high level program, if somebody had to ask me to summarize it, I think of it in this very simple context. It's a program that works with established or aspiring business owners, helping them to be able to take advantage of the best of traditional funding sources and combine them with non-traditional funding sources to reach an outcome where they can be able to deploy new products, new services, or expand existing lines without getting themselves buried in the burden of debt.
Right. Yeah, man, I like that. I'm glad we have the ability to get this thing transcribed, because I think I'm going to start using that. No, and you hit a lot of things there. In business, you're gonna, for everybody listening out there, whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur that has a 9 to 5 job, and looking to maybe keep your job, but are looking for other ways to, elevate yourself and your life, your family, your finances, there's a place for you. For those that are looking to start a business and get to the next level in that business, going through the nuances of startup action, there's a place for you. For those that are already running a business, but like many business owners suffer through a lot of burdens, right? Whether that's debt, whether that's need for other services or equipment or whatever, there's a solution for you. And for anybody out there that's listening that just wants to find a better way to learn and an outlet to explore creative ideas, there's a place for you. So everything that we've put together, there's a place for. I pride myself in educating, right? Brian, tell us a little bit about some of the educational pieces that we go through in developing this program and bringing others through the full rate. Because if I'm not mistaken, this isn't just a program where traditionally you just go get a loan. Tell us, what are some of those components in the education part of making this a success?
Yeah, so when it comes to the education part of success of the I Level to High Level program, to be a successful business owner, I mean, we've already talked about the fact that nothing goes according to plan in business. One of the things I was always told growing up, the only constant in life is change. And so the ones that survive in business are the ones that adapt to change and adapt to new things that are being done. Importantly, I think about one of my favorite books, by Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, which I'm sure it's a very popular book that most people have read. But I'm not going to spoil too much of the actual book for you. But for those of you who are not familiar with the book or maybe lived underneath a rock, if I'm far in between, I'm going to talk to you about a concept called the cash flow quadrant. And so the cash flow quadrant looks at the fact that there's ways of making money. Everybody is focused on how can they be able to retain an extra dollar at the end of the month. That's the most important thing. And then the second part is how do you keep it after taxes? But the how is more important than the what. And what I mean by that is there's two different ways that most people generally focus on making money. And that way ends up being called an employee or self-employed, which on the cash flow quadrant is referred to E or S. Now, there's not very much variation from a high level view when you look at employed to self-employed, but there are some nuances that make substantial differences. For instance, if you're a paralegal working for a lawyer agency, you earn a salary and a wage. And at a certain point, you cannot make any more additional income unless you get a bonus or a pay raise. So when you have a set salary of $50,000, that's what you know to expect for the course of that year. But let's say, for instance, your debt gets to $70,000 worth of annual debt that you have to service. At that point, that's where you find yourself upside down, meaning that there's no amount of time that you can exchange to be able to get extra, be able to cover that debt through your job. And so that's where people end up taking a side hustle. And they start finding something to do on the weekends, like driving Uber to be able to help them to make additional income.
Right,
And
right.
that's how they end up servicing debt. But it can be tiresome because I don't know, but Jimmy and I have the same 24 hours a day, and I think so does everybody else, even though it seems like some people have more. But they don't manufacture more hours in the day yet, and we have to ask Elon Musk to make that one of his next crusades. But until that time, we have to figure out how to make the most 24 hours. And then here comes the second portion of when I'm talking about employed, which is self-employed. And so when you think about self-employed, you do make substantially more income as a self-employed individual. For instance, instead of being a paralegal working at a law agency, what if you become the lawyer who becomes a partner at the agency? And generally speaking, you do make more money. But also, there can be elements that where you exchange time for money, meaning that if you're a lawyer that owns a law agency and either you're not in court cases or your staff is not in court cases, then you're not making money. And at that point, yes, you have the credentials, you have the education, you have the prestige, but you still end up exchanging time for money. This is where we find most entrepreneurs make the transition. They go from a job with a stable salary to entrepreneurship in which that they exchange time for money, but maybe they get it at a higher rate or a higher value. And one of the things that's very challenging when we're self-employed is that you also can fall back into the same cycle of being at a ceiling where you can only make a certain amount of income. And if your debt load goes above that, you can find yourself still changing time for money. The real things that exist that I would say stand the test of time in a matter of words are when you find systems and systems in which you have either people or now in 2025 you have AI working for you, and essentially where you disconnect that connection of time and money. See, if you have an AI system that's out there talking to people and those things, that means that yes, you don't have as many employees, but you have something that's working even while you may sleep. Like for instance, maybe responding to emails, or maybe you have employees that are making sales calls or those pieces. And those are the systems that we try to help our business owners establish through the course of the eye level to high level program. We help you to figure out how to make systems work and work to your favor so that you're not having to find money for your business to be able to run so that you're not trading your own time. Because we talk to a lot of small business owners and we speak to a lot of families as well too. And those individuals are end up having situations in which they need money to be able to hire employees, but they don't have access to that capital. And they're denied that from some traditional standards, just different places. The second piece that we have is also investments. So the thing also about money is that money can also be, in a sense, unemployed as well too. So when you think about money that just sits in a bank account and doesn't exactly have a purpose, or better yet, it doesn't bring back any of its friends, you're effectively not deploying your capital in the right ways. One of the companies that I like to think about is Amazon. And Amazon has over $80 billion of cash, like cash money. But at the same time, that $80 million doesn't just sit idly in the bank accounts. They have money invested in so many different ventures. They invested in U.S. treasuries. They invest into the companies. They invest in things that generate returns. So the goal is that your money should be also making a return as well too, meaning
Right.
that it should be bringing dollars. Now, I'm not saying for you to go to Vegas and go put it all in black, and I'm definitely not saying go put it all in red. But through the course of our program, we help you to figure out a way to make investing a sustainable strategy for you.
one of the hardest things for people to understand is that there is an ability to make money work for you, right? Where you could, take your two hands and keep doing what you're doing, whether that's in your business or your 9 to 5 or whatever that is, but that you actually have like a third arm over here doing work for you and making money, right? An invisible arm that's doing it 24/7, that is not emotionally tied to anything, that doesn't get sick, that that's an amazing feat, and being able to make money work for you, right? And a lot of people will go through decades trying to hope that their 401k will be there in 30 years. And then they got to use money and dip into it, and then they get penalized, right, for using their money, right? What are the advantages of working with a company like ours in utilizing the strategy in helping people alleviate the burdens of debt, obviously put themselves in a better position, but how do they overcome that fear or those struggles that traditionally they have to go through?
Yeah, when I think of, working with a company like ours, there are a lot of traditional struggles that, like you mentioned, people run into. It's answers of no. It's answers of how do you structure things in the right way. There's in the world of finance, there's so many mysteries. Some of them are in books, and some of them are just in what I call tribal knowledge. And so, to be able to demystify these mysteries, it takes sometimes a helping hand to help guide you. And that's where advisors like Rios Business Advisors comes in to be able to use a collection of experiences, a breadth of tools, a breadth of solutions, and I love the high level program that can already take proven track records of programs, but orchestrate it in a way that most people wouldn't conventionally think of, so that they
Right,
could be able to reach goals and standards and things that they are trying to go. Sometimes solutions that we propose people have heard of before.
right,
Sometimes within the high level program, we engineer new solutions in ways people hadn't considered.
right,
Now, for a lot of people, the unknown seems daunting. It seems something that's very scary that they shouldn't take into it. But the
right.
biggest risk that you can take is just sitting on the sidelines.
Wow.
Because, like, if you think about in the last 20 to 30 years, how much has changed in life.
Right,
If you could go back to the age, back in 1996, the internet was just a novelty, and it wasn't something that everybody had access to. It only
right,
started becoming mainstream. You followed it up with the fact that we had dial-up that transferred to broadband, and that was the greatest invention in technology. Y2K wasn't that long ago; it was just 25 years ago. And during that time, we barely had phones that were mobile phones. Mobile
yeah,
phones would end up becoming a thing that started becoming in mass adoption. From mobile phones, we ended up getting the first versions of smartphones, like the Palm Pilots and those pieces. Now, when you look at what we end up getting cell phone like iPhones and the Android phones, and now we look at how that's changed how we use technology. It was
right.
just asinine to believe in 2007 that you could have a phone that would be fully screened. BlackBerry made
I thought I was happy with my BlackBerry back in the day that
right.
I could text. I thought that was like revolutionary, and every business guy had a BlackBerry. I thought that was the coolest thing. And then now you look at a BlackBerry and you laugh because it looks so
Exactly.
archaic, and it wasn't that long ago, but that's how it is, right?
And I think about the comments that the CEO of BlackBerry said at the time, and he called the iPhone dead on arrival, and that nobody would buy the phone. And
Right.
now, a decade later, like you mentioned to me, the BlackBerry does not exist in the form of a phone anymore.
No.
They're a software company, and
Yeah.
so that's what I mean by the risk of sitting aside.
Right.
A lot of people talk about the Web 2.0 and the advent of social media. Think about
Right.
how years ago you had to even years ago, when I think about into the early 2010s, it would never be permissible to jump in a car with a stranger.
Right.
And
That's
now we
so
do
true.
that called
Yeah.
Uber and Lyft. How many people, if you weren't staying in a hotel or a motel or something of the sorts, would you really go to somebody's house
Right.
that
No,
you
it
did
makes
not
a
know as a
yeah.
stranger?
Now, let me ask you another question with regards to the high level program. It's we've seen it change many lives. And for those that are sitting out there kind of wondering, what could it do for them? Give us an example of maybe a case study of one of our clients that has some type of an effect on you that you feel proud about. Obviously, I look at our program like every client is a baby for us, like it's our baby. So we take a lot of pride in being able to take them through our blueprint for success and getting them to that promised land, right? I always tell people, look at this like the pot of gold at the end of that rainbow. Quit looking up at all the beautiful colors. Let's stay focused on the pathway to get you there, right? And when you do that, there's a very gratifying feeling that we get in doing it. Give us maybe just one case study of something that had an effect on you.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about our program overall, there were so many clients that we've helped, and there are definitely a few stories that just pop up first in mind when I think of some story that really touched me. And there was an individual who had a two-income household. I'll never forget this. And the wife ended up falling really, really sick. And that was going to cause a strain in the household because if you think of a two-income household, that's, depending on two incomes to be able to come in, and now you've cut down to one. But not just cutting down to one income and then having kids and other responsibilities to care about, that also the wife needed medical attention. And it required specialized treatment, which it also, when I say specialized treatment, that also means ding, 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 more cost. So it's not something that would just be very easy to just go get a fix for. And so, in a very vulnerable position, most people would be contemplating, well, how do I get through this? And it's a very, very tough situation to be in. So it came to us and entrusted us with the challenge of how can I make sure that my family gets provided for? And how can I make sure that I navigate this, life-altering change?
Right.
And so we went through the program. He went through the program, starting and taking in conventional structures, like for instance, being able to get access to real estate financing using equity within his home. Taking that equity, and
but he didn't have
programs.
like the equity requirement, and in the sense of credit scores, he was not
Right.
your typical client that would be able to go to any given bank per se and get a loan. So he was kind of an unfundable person. And what did we do?
I mean, to your point, Jimmy, it wasn't this as something as a 1, 2, 3 situation scenario for him. We
Right.
had to be able to go out to be able to get actual private funding that would look at his profile and say yes, because so many other places he had gone to had said no.
Right.
And so we took a situation that seemed like a dead end and turned it into something that gave him inspiration, excitement, but also a new lease on life.
Right.
And what I mean by that is by, finally getting that yes that he'd been so looking for, that I need this capital for my family's sake. He took it and then trusted into our non-traditional programs,
Right.
doing things that he probably
He came
had.
he came from the mortgage world, but he even having some, and ironically he was working for a debt settlement company too. So he had some knowledge of this stuff, but nothing to the effect of what we were proposing at all, right?
Right. And so taking on his experiences, this limited experiences that he had in investing, he took this and turned it into a way to be able to not only be able to take care of his family and take care of the household and use our programs to replace capital that he needed, but he was able to use it for being able to make sure that he could take care of the medical treatments for his wife, be able to allow himself to take a traveling vacation that he had been so longing for.
He took
for
a month.
many months.
He went to Mexico for a month. And a lot of people can take, and I went to Colombia for 2 weeks and I felt like the king. Imagine taking a whole month off, right? Disconnecting from the rat race, like we like to call it, and really being able to enjoy his family, his kids, his father. I mean, this is what I'm talking about, life-altering moments in somebody's life. But he not only did that, he replaced his income and his wife's income, right? Because didn't he quit his job? He's at a level where he could let go of the golden handcuffs, correct?
it's a success story of the highest proportions in my mind because it went from working from two dual household income, two jobs, to fatal sickness, to being able to replace that income, to being able to then be able to get the care taken that was needed for the wife, to be able to use this to launch into entrepreneurship again for him and do it in a way that now he's in control of his time, efforts, and the amount of pay that he can really be able to create by creating the right systems in place that we've set up around him so that he can have a team around him working. I mean, that's
And through
ultimately
our
wow.
mentorship, and guidance, we got him with our tax advisor. We got him set. We're getting him set up to basically pay himself as the president of his investment firm now, and structuring him that way so that he can now, on paper, have everything that he needs to be able to make his investments in real estate, which was originally what he always wanted to do, but he didn't know how. So a lot of things happen here. He's now the president of his investment firm, giving himself a salary, being able to take care of his family, having freedom of time to do the things he wants to do. So the passion that I always talk about to carry on in your life. Now he's an example to his kids of determination, grit, never giving up. I mean, you guys, look at this big picture. What has happened? And that's just one microcosm of many, right, that we've done. Tell us in the last few minutes, where do you see this going in the next 5 years with eye level to high level? What do you know, and what do you see this as happening in our lives?
Oh man, when I think about the next 5 years for the high level to high level and where we see it going, year one has been so spectacular because it went from concept to proven actuals to now we look at year two as how do we scale the growth, multiply our result by two, three, 5x, 10x. And when I see it 5 years down the road, I look at this successful program that has been able to touch the lives of tens of thousands of individuals. But not only that, we've been able to create a funding model where we can be able to take every place that would tell you no and be the one place that you can come to and say yes, merging in
Wow.
more of our non-traditional models, holistic approach where we can be able to help individuals with all facets. As Jimmy mentioned in one of our case studies, we not only helped them focus when it came to the funding and aspects and systems, but making sure that their taxes were correct, making sure that he could be able to run his own investment firm, helping to make sure he pays his salary, he has a team around him. There's so many more auxiliary services that we can offer to make a full-fledged approach. That essentially, not only do we become advisors, we almost also become a board of directors to really help you. And that's what the I
Yeah.
Love a High Level program is really going to be all about in the next 5 years.
And guys, this is not just in the U.S. We're looking at spreading our wings, because if we can do it in the U.S., we can do it in Mexico, we can do it in Colombia. We've already dabbled in some of these areas. We could do it worldwide. This is a movement that's taken effect. We took two traditional or non-traditional formats that have been sitting side by side in parallel, and we crossed them to make magic and make things happen that is unparalleled. A little tidbit, where I can't tell you guys yet who the streaming channel is going to be showing, but I could tell you that very soon you're going to see a documentary about this program, about the movement, about what we've done to get here, and we're going to bring this to the world. So it's an exciting time because me and Brian, my wife, our CFO Rafael, we're going to be flying out to Miami, and we're going to be shooting that show, and it's coming to a streaming channel near you very shortly. The Jimmy Rios and I Level a High Level story coming at ya. So it's going to be exciting, guys. I hope you share the same passion that me and Brian do. Brian, I appreciate you being on the show. Man, it's infectious, the energy that you bring every day, every time I talk to you. That's the epitome of success. That's what's made us and helped us get to where we're going to the next level, and to that high level, right? We're taking ourselves from eye level to high level. We're the walking, talking billboards to what can be done in success. And you can too. You just got to pay attention. You have to have God. You got to have grit, determination, and never give up. Thank you guys again. Let's do it next week. Thanks for tuning in to Eye Level to High Level. If you're ready to rise above the average, subscribe, share, and follow us for more ways to take your grind to greatness. Until next time, keep pushing higher.